Hey everybody, hope you guys are doing good today. Just in the office today, work on some Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns and getting ready for today's YouTube video. And hey, before we get started today, just want to go over a couple things. Tonight, Johnny and I have our live podcast on Fish the Moment Live on the new YouTube channel that Fish the Moment has. It's not the regular Fish the Moment YouTube channel, but it's a new one, Fish the Moment Live. So if you guys want to check it out, go on Fish the Moment Night Live. It's going to start tonight at 7 o'clock. Going to be a really good live podcast. Going to be a lot of interaction with it. You guys can shoot us some questions. Going to be a good time. And also, Johnny has his next virtual seminar on February the 4th. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go to fishthemoment.com and check that out. But hey, today just wanted to talk about something that I got thinking about yesterday, because I actually had a chance to, it brought up a memory when I was fishing yesterday on Bull Shoals Lake, and that is why you should smell the bass you catch. And I know that probably sounds like a funny topic to people, but let me sort of explain, why I'm doing this video on that and sort of the benefits of that. I started fishing, probably, when I was, I don't know, 10 or 12 years old, quite a bit. And where my mom and dad live, at the bottom of the hill down there, there's a small creek called Turkey Creek that runs, probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles through Joplin there. And this is a small creek. It's probably, I'm going to guess 30 to 40 feet wide in the widest part. Not much over 5 or 6 feet deep in the deepest part, and a lot of it is like super shallow. And I used to go down there after school. When I get home from school, I'd walk down there and I'd wade the creek as much as I possibly could. And I learned a lot about nature there, a lot about crawdads and minnows and current and the way current went across rocks, and saw a lot of wildlife there. So it was really a great learning experience to not only connect with nature but connect with fishing too. And there was the main thing in Turkey Creek. There were a few bullheads, there were some black perch, and a few bass, but not many. It wasn't not like a lot of fish in this creek. But occasionally, I'd wade it, all the time, and most of the time I'd fish like a Rapala minnow, just twitching it on the surface. And occasionally I would catch a bass, which was a special thing. And I remember when I was on one trip down there, I was wading through there, and I was fishing my little Rapala minnow. And most of the fish that you catch there would be, a pound or a pound and a quarter if you did catch a bass. But I got in one of the deeper holes there, and I threw my little Rapala out there, and a 4-pounder got it. And I got this fish in the boat, or excuse me, I got this fish on the bank. And I just couldn't believe, such a giant fish would eat this thing. And I remember I was unhooking it, and I looked down in its mouth, and I just, for whatever reason, I just put my nose down into the fish's mouth and I smelled it. And a bass has the most unique smell of any fish that's out there. That stayed with me right then. It's like that smell. The first time I smelled the inside of that bass's mouth, it was like permanently imprinted into my mind or my sensory about what that smelled like. And if you smelled fish before, I don't care if it's catfish or crappie or whatever, every fish has a smell to itself. So, and a lot of it is fishy smell, but a bass has a super unique smell if you smell the inside of its mouth. There's nothing like it. There's not another smell out there like it. And one of the things that happened after that is, ever since I remember smelling that fish's inside of that fish's mouth, I sort of made it a habit every time I caught one to smell what that was like. And it's like every time I did that, it took me back to that time at Turkey Creek catching that 4-pound bass. And I don't care where I've been in the country. I've caught bass in Japan, I've caught bass in Canada, I've caught bass all over the United States. And one of the things that I always do, and I don't do it every time, but occasionally, is, I'll take that bass and I'll smell the inside of that bass's mouth, and it takes me back to Turkey Creek when I was, I don't know, like I said, 9 to 12 years old. I can't remember exactly, but it takes me back into that magical period of my childhood where I discovered bass fishing. And you can ask Rick Clun about this. I had a talk with Clun about that, because he was sort of fascinated about me smelling bass, and then he started smelling bass, and he said the same thing. It's like there's something special about, what that feels like and what's that like to take the time to do that. It sort of connects you with the fish. And it's sort of hard to explain. I'm not saying this is something this doesn't really have anything to do with helping you become a better angler or helping you catch more fish. But what it does, it just sort of grounds you to an appreciation of bass, how special they really are, how unique they are. And for me, like I said, it takes me back to my childhood days, long ago. And it's funny how smells do that. You guys, there's probably some people that can relate to that, because another smell that stayed with me is back when I was, again, a little kid, like I was 6 or 7 years old. Every summer, my parents, they would take us down to Table Rock Lake, to this little small mom and pop resort called Rod and Reel Resort down by Shell Knob, on Table Rock. And this was back in the late 1960s, and I can remember walking down to the old creaky boat dock that they had down there. It was a pretty large dock, but it was old school dock. It was like real old and crickety, and you had nothing but V-bottom fishing boats with 10 to 20 horsepower motors on it. But when you walked on that dock, there was a unique smell to that dock, and probably it came from a lot of people cleaning fish. That everybody kept everything they caught back then, but there was a smell permeation on that dock that smelled like fish, but it smelled like fish in a good way. It's sort of like, if you guys ever, back when there was two-stroke motors, if you guys ever got the smell of like a two-stroke motor, how unique that is. It's sort of the same thing. There's a smell of that boat dock, the fish that was permeated into the wood. And occasionally I'll get a whiff of that. I'll be around some older dock fishing across the country, and I'll get a whiff of that, and it takes me back to Rod and Reel Resort in 1969 on Table Rock Lake immediately. So it's sort of neat how smells stay with us in part of our brain that just doesn't go away. It's like, it's one of those things that we never forget. And I don't care, if I live to be 100 years old or whatever, and I smell a bass when I'm 100 years old, it's going to take me back to being 10 years old back at Turkey Creek and, in southwest Missouri there, catching that 4-pound bass on Rapala. So anyway, just sort of, wanted to share that with you, but give it a try. Next time, if most people out there have probably done it. Maybe you haven't. Maybe a lot of people they're disconnected from the fish on an intimate level like that. But the next fishing trip that you guys go on, if you haven't done this, take the time to smell inside of a bass's mouth, and you'll know what I'm talking about, and that smell will stay with you, from now on permanently. It's sort of a cool deal. So anyway, that's today's story tip, or just sharing a story with you guys, whatever you'd like to call that. But just wanted to let you guys know that, because yesterday when I was at Bull Shoals, I did that, and it reminded me. Back years ago. But anyway, that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll get back on some more lure categories. And like I said, hope you guys can join us tonight with the Fish the Moment live broadcast at 7, Fish the Moment Live YouTube channel. And we'll talk to you guys later. See you.